John 7:24. Nolite judicare secundum faciem, sed justum judicium judicate. Don't judge according to appearance, but judge a just judgment, or make a fair or just judgment. This is a fun little verse for a couple different reasons that we'll cover briefly. Firstly, we want to note a little interesting tidbit from our 16th century commentator and friend Erasmus, who always has a lot to say about the wording of the Vulgate and how it might be improved, or how it does or doesn't follow Greek manuscripts, etc. He suggests that even better than faciem here would be aspectum, which has a more limited and specific meaning, closer to what we want here, appearance, the outward look or seeming nature of something, rather than facies, which could be a little bit ambiguous, I suppose, based on the context. Really, though, these two nouns are quite close. There's not a lot of daylight between them, but it's always helpful to know what Erasmus thought might have been slightly better. Next, we want to notice the interesting phrase, justum judicium judicate. And the obvious interesting thing going on here is the connected nature of all three of these words. Judico, judicare, the verb, first conjugation verb. Judicium, the noun for what is produced by the action indicated by judicare. And then justum, which describes something to which a judicium has been well and properly applied. Justum judicium judicate. Now, we might notice, really I think we can't help noticing, there's an etymological connection between judicare and judicium. Of course, these words are related. And when you use a verb with a direct object that's related etymologically, there's actually a name for this. It's called, in most modern grammars, a cognate accusative. Lewis and Short, rather more charmingly, I think, call it a kindred accusative, which means, of course, the same thing, that these are kind of relatives in a sense. And they are, right? They're related words almost in a genetic sense. So judicate judicium, judge a judgment. Now, we don't say that in English. We would say render a judgment or give a judgment or make a judgment, etc. But this is how one would say it in Latin. A quick example to help you remember this. This is one I've lifted from a popular reference grammar. We can say duram vitam vixit. Literally, he lived a hard life. Vitam vixit. He lived a life. You can hear even in English, the noun and the verb betray the fact that they are relatives, genetic relatives. So this is a thing that happens in Latin with a few different verbs that you'll see from time to time. You don't need to know that that's called a cognate or kindred accusative to understand it. Far from it. However, it's nice to know when you're describing what is particularly pleasing about it. That's a helpful grammatical handle that we can use to say, this is why this has the particular sound that we like, or why it's intuitive for speakers to speak this way.